right, let's move on to the Knicks. Of course, you guys know that a friend of Phil Jackson's wrote a story recently that said Carmelo Anthony had, quote, outlived his usefulness in New York. And the question is, well, does that really mean that it's just coming from Phil? Melo certainly thinks so, and he responded when the New York media pressed him about it. Here's what he said.
That's what's coming from that side. That is, I guess, it's a conversation that we should have. I hear it. I hear all the rhetoric that's going on out there. And I still come to work every day and play and bust my ass and try not to worry about it.
Obviously, Melo very frustrated, feels that this was a direct shot from Phil to him. We've seen this a few times before, and it seems like just when there's tension, they all kind of work it out and make nice. But, Mark, does this seem more serious this time? And should Melo waive his no-trade clause?
What he's saying has been interpreted as kind of the first time that he's publicly acknowledged that maybe there will be an end of the road and maybe he won't finish with the Knicks. I don't think he should waive his no-trade clause. I applaud Melo for wanting to stay with the Knicks. He wants to get it done in New York. And I think they were on a good path last season. It wasn't Carmelo Anthony's decision to bring in Derrick Rose on a one-year flyer. It wasn't Carmelo Anthony's decision to give
all that money.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Melo would be willing to cede control of the team to Porzingis, but now you've added these new elements, and I don't think it's his fault. Does he have deficiencies? Is he a defensive problem? Okay, but he wants to be a Knick, wants to get it done there. So, I think he's a convenient scapegoat for the Knicks' troubles right now, and wrongly so.
But, Stephen, if it was you, and remember, Phil made that comment earlier this year publicly about, he holds the ball too much, basically, and then you have this sort of veiled shot coming through one of his friends. If you're Melo, do you think, you know what, I have had enough, and as long as you trade me to somewhere I want to go, I'm willing to go?
Yeah, because it seems like the disrespect is getting too much. You know directly where it's coming from. And, he can be in better situations. Obviously, it hasn't worked. I love the fact that he wants to get it done there. And like you say, it's not his fault. Courtney Lee, all these guys, they didn't bring in the right guys for him. I love KP. I think it's KP's team. And I think Melo doesn't mind. Like you say, doesn't mind taking a step back.
He stands up there in the toughest media market in this league and takes the heat every single day. Yeah. Where has Phil Jackson been?
Right.
They don't suspend Derrick Rose. We haven't heard a word from Phil Jackson in 2017. So I have no issues with Carmelo Anthony. Here's the thing. If he ever gets to the point that he waives his no-trade clause, he's going to want to be traded to the Clippers
or Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Do those teams have the pieces to give the Knicks something better?
Cleveland is really an option anymore with the moves they've started to make, and so it really comes down to, does LA want him? Could a trade work out? And there's a limited number of teams that kind of fit that Rubik's cube.
Are the Clippers going to send Blake Griffin for Carmelo Anthony? No, they're not.
Right. No, they're not. So there are enough other pieces there. We'll have to see. It's a developing situation, as they say. We do have to take a quick break, but the jump not over yet here in the beautiful Bay Area. Take a look at our distant replay from LeBron in 2009.
Gibson on the drive, the runner, short. James on the foul. Wow!
See the miss teardrop by Gibson, but mama, there goes that man, LeBron James, out of nowhere. Give me that rebound.
I do want to take a minute to talk about the more important topic of the day. It's been nearly 50 years since Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Nearly 50 years, and look, as the decades march on, it is easy for even the greatest of men to turn two-dimensional. Let's admit it, for a lot of people, the only image of Dr. King is something grainy and black and white from a history book. His hopes and dreams reduced to inspirational quotes on refrigerator magnets. But I promise, if you are one of those people, it is worth your time to put down the YouTube videos for a few minutes and start going down an MLK rabbit hole instead. It's worth reading about Dr. King's big, complicated, sprawling, nuanced ideas that go much further than I have a dream. Dr. King fought not just for the right to sit on a bus, but to sit with dignity. He fought not just against those who burned crosses, but also against those who just sat by and watched. The massive moderates who needed to be rustled from their complacency. Oh, and he had help. He had help from Medgar Evers and James Farmer, Roy Wilkins, A. Philip Randolph, and Whitney Young. He had help from Rosa Parks, Eleanor Holmes Norton, and from Fannie Lou Hamer, who so memorably explained she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then there is John Lewis. Yes, that John Lewis, the great and distinguished congressman from Georgia. who led the Freedom Riders, who crossed the bridge in Selma, who was beaten and bloodied more than once and yet kept marching forward. It's important to know more about all of them because we need them now today more than ever. I'll be honest, there are some mornings I wake up and I don't even want to pick up a newspaper. It seems like there are so many attacks on the rights and freedoms of so many Americans right now. But that's why we have days like today, to remember those who stared down worse and answered with their best selves. That's why this is the day the whole basketball world stops and rips Martin Luther King out of that flat, dusty history book so we can put him front and center so he can inspire us all. And with that, it is time to talk some basketball. We've got great games tonight, but look, guys, none looms larger than Cavs Warriors, right? And I don't know if you heard, the Warriors were up 3-1 in the finals, and no one's talking about this, but they did give that up when the Cavaliers reeled off 3 straight to win the title. The Warriors also gave
I wish I had a dime for every time I get a tweet about
right? About that much less. and of course, that's been replaced by all the tweets saying, did you know the Warriors gave up a 14-point lead to the Cavs on Christmas Day? Also not discussed online at all, right? So, Mark, how important is it to the Warriors' psyche to win today?
I mean, I don't want to say like the season's riding on it, but it's important. I think it's hard for the Warriors right now to dispute that on some level the Cavs are in their heads. And then there's this other kind of conspiracy bubbling that the Cavs like it when the Warriors are feeling themselves. So whatever happens today, I think too much is going to be made of it. That's inevitable. But the Warriors haven't, I mean, they haven't beaten the Cavs. They haven't beaten Houston. They got drubbed on opening night by the Spurs. They want to win one of these showcase games and in convincing fashion.
Look, it's January, okay? And you playing against this team, you have to beat them. You have to set the tone now. I think they have to win at home. This is a home game they have to win for their fans. You know, nobody can tell what's going to happen in the future, but at the same time, it's a good chance these teams will meet up again. I think the biggest thing about this game today, Durant has to make his mark on this so-called robbery. I think Durant has to be a star tonight.
Well, look, Durant, LeBron has gotten the better of those matchups historically. Now KD has a bit more guys at his back this time, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, with the Cavs-Warriors rivalry, LeBron has been kind of playing coy. He told reporters, I don't think we have a rival in our game today. He said, we've had 2 great finals appearances in the last 2 years, but I had the same with San Antonio, he said, when I was in Miami. He said, we weren't rivals, and I think I played those guys more, so I wouldn't look at this as rivals. Stacks, are you buying this?
Not at all. I mean, in my mind, there's only 3 good teams in the NBA right now. The Warriors and Cavs have definitely started a rivalry. Played the last 2 finals. It's definitely a rivalry. He can try to downplay it as much as he wants because it's just a regular season game. But I think deep down inside, he's fired up about this game, and he wants to win it just as much as anybody else.
You have a talk with him because that quote would not
pass the Steven Jackson.
Not at all.
Look, that's a finable fib. Come on.
Right.
This rivalry. This is modern day Lakers and Celtics. Not because these teams have that long history like the Lakers and Celtics do, but these 2 teams and the rivalry lords over everything. It impacts the collective bargaining agreement. It impacts how busy this trade deadline is going to be because teams think, can we make a move that gets us even close to these guys? Everything in this league starts with the Cavs and Warriors right now, so come on.
I mean, if LeBron really wants us to believe this, I have some Halloween cookies I would like to show because we know all the off-court stuff that we have seen. I mean, when they played back in Cleveland on Christmas Day, the Cavaliers had a poster of LeBron's block during the NBA Finals, and somebody taped a championship ring onto the poster. You're telling me there's nothing to it?
Our Chris Haynes today reported, and I think I got this number right, that LeBron budgeted $150K for that Halloween party.
Well,
so I think that, you know, and it was a Warrior.
How much per cookie?
We don't have those details, but that tells you that the Warriors are on Cleveland's mind a little bit too.
Those are expensive cookies. I'm just saying. All right, there's a newcomer to this rivalry, Kyle Korver. In Friday's game, Korver scored 18 points. He hit 4 of 6 from downtown. And look, we started to see what kind of threat he might be with this team. I mean, clearly, this is not on the same level as the Warriors acquiring Kevin Durant this summer. But still, Stephen, when you look at the way these teams match up long term, getting another piece of firepower in Kyle Korver, what does that do for Cleveland?
It makes your team better. And not just the Cleveland. Kyle Korver can make any team better because he can shoot. The way the game is now, defense is not a priority. Him and JJ Redick going to play a long time because they got good legs. They come off those screens, and they're knockdown shooters. Kyle Korver is going to be great for Cleveland. I know LeBron's happy to have him.
I think so too, and I'm a huge Korver fan. I think ultimately it's a no-brainer move, but I do think we have to see it play out only because Kyle Korver is a great catch-and-shoot guy, and the Cavs are a catch-and-shoot team, but he also benefited from a lot of screening in Atlanta. Are the Cavs as good a screening team as the Hawks were? I think that remains to be seen. But, the dirty little secret about the Cavs in January, they've been the third worst three-point shooting team since the calendar flipped to 2017. So you would think Kyle Korver is going to help them.
I don't know how much that has to do with J.R. Smith being off the floor right now as well. You said defensively, no one's focusing on it that much. I'm sure some coaches would have a heart attack hearing you say that right now. We all know that changes, though, in the playoffs, especially the deeper you get. Is there a fear that defensively he's going to get pushed off the floor at all?
It could be. In playoffs, they pick on your weakness. They go straight at that guy. It could be, but he's a competitor. He's going to compete. He's going to try, but it might keep him off the floor in some instances in the playoffs.
I think so. I think can the Warriors exploit Korver's presence? That's going to determine how much we would see him if these teams meet in the finals.
Well, you got to love the fact that these guys are chess matching each other back and forth, and David Griffin might not be done yet.
It's a rivalry.
It's not a rivalry. There's no cookies. It's all fine. All right. We have to take a quick break. We will be back, however, to discuss the beef between Isaiah Thomas and Dennis Schroeder that started with the little on-court trash talking. But first, check out how the Hawks celebrated Martin Luther King Day. This is awesome. There you go. All right, we are just up the road from that. We are here in anticipation of the epic MLK Day game between the Cavs and Warriors, which brings us to Steph Curry. Curry will be a free agent this summer, but when Tim Kawakami asked him about it, Curry said, quote, "There's really no reason that I can see right now that would draw me elsewhere." Mark, you are around this team pretty much every day, it feels like. Can you see any way that Curry would test free agency?
I really can't. Now, if we want to break that quote, that specific quote that he gave Mr. Kawakami down, you could underline right now and say, there's the disclaimer. But I think Steph is just being polite when people ask him these questions. He did an interview earlier this season with a paper in his hometown of Charlotte and kind of said the same stuff. But too much work was made. The Warriors did too much to get Durant here. They're not just going to do this for a season. The only thing I would say is guys don't make their free agency decisions in January. So we still got 6 months to go, but it is really hard to imagine a scenario.
Steph has had to do the most adjusting, though, Stephen, of anyone on the Warriors, and it will be worth it, I assume, if they win a title. If they don't win a title and you're Steph Curry, does that make you change your thinking at all?
No, I think the chances of him leaving is very slim. I think the only scenario you can put that will make sense is if they can make that team in Charlotte great, and he can go there and play at home in front of his family and friends. His family, that's where he's from. So that would be the only situation, but that won't happen.
They're not even
I don't see it happen. It doesn't have to bargain for anything, right? They're going to give him the max, so it's going to make a lot of money. Let's talk about
$210 million.
We can talk about that too. It is time for Make or Miss. Here we go. Circus road trips. Miss Ringling Brothers no longer is going to continue with their traveling circus. Mark, why does this make a difference to NBA teams?
It means that circus trip that we write about the Chicago Bulls reflexively at the end of November, which I've been putting in my power rankings for 15 years, that goes away, and I don't think the Bulls will be shedding one single tear about it.
A lot of these NBA teams are circus, so they need to.
Steven, Miss freebies. Andre Drummond hit this half-court shot against the Lakers yesterday. I mean, look, he's 2 for 3 on threes this season, but he's 44% from the free throw line. How do you explain this?
Shoot your free throws from there.
It's very easy to explain. You don't have to think when you're heaving a half-court shot at the buzzer.
Right.
The free throw line, there's a lot of time to think. I don't think he likes the conversation he has with himself at the line.
We are out of time. We will not be able to discuss Andre Drummond's free throw shooting in depth with Stephen. I know you're very upset about that. We will not be on the air the next couple days to make room for the Australian Open, but we will be live from Cleveland on Friday, 2:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Until then, enjoy the game at Oracle Arena tonight. Cavs Warriors, round 2.